It's on.
So, let's talk about the Leo movie. This is a little lizard movie off to the side that I heard about a few months ago and didn't really pay much attention to it. It's a Netflix movie, exclusively on Netflix, not made by any major studio, and I couldn't care less. Or at least, that's how I felt about 10 days ago before the trailer actually released, and actually, it's not bad. With Adam Sandler having enough of Hotel Transylvania, he's decided to retire the old Transylvanian vampire accent and instead play an old lizard. The premise of Leo is that Leo the lizard here is a very experienced lizard existing for many decades now as a classroom pet. Existing at least since the 1940s, he's the kind of person who's not really achieved much with his life, however has always seen the ongoing generations pass through time, and only now, I guess, having a bit of an existential crisis.
Lizard looks pretty old.
Bit of a weird prompt for a movie. Like, I guess we did have, like, Newt from Pixar about lizards trapped in a cage, but this is different. See, the actual direction that this movie seems to be taking its plot is one that I don't think we really have seen in mainstream movies in a long time. That could genuinely open up to a whole new degree of wholesome that I otherwise wasn't really expecting. It's all about generational learning and teachings.
Everyone thinks I'm weird.
Kid, they don't even know you.
With the very demographic of the movie obviously being kids, and specifically those around the same age as the modern day kids of the classroom. And there's all sorts of details we have seen from the trailer, but we'll get to them piece by piece. First, I just want to talk a bit more about Adam Sandler. I wouldn't really have pictured him to be the stereotype for your old guy voice, however, it kind of fits really nicely. I'm not a particular Adam Sandler hater, obviously I'm not a big fan of Hotel Transylvania 2, 3, and 4, but like his other live action movies seem like fun. I'm not too fussed about the guy.
Is so special about this reptile?
And this seems to be a genuinely nice direction for him to go for, since I can't just unnotice how warm the messaging seems to feel to me. So Leo has another lizard in his cage as a little buddy who's very much happy to have the very quiet and unriveting lifestyle. He's kind of like the Foley to Leo in the early days from the sound of things, and is very much just trying to keep the status quo. But what switches things up this year, as opposed to, I don't know, a random time in 2003, is the classroom now has a mandatory process of accepting classroom pets, and so Leo is just gonna inexplicably be taken out of his cage regularly to go and spend a little bit of time with each of the children in the class.
You're growing up.
No. It's my dad.
See, there may not necessarily be a specific main human character. Instead, it's more like an ensemble group, as all of these kids are very much going through the same stages of life with very different pathways. There's one with the concerns of having a hairy back, and another that just feels unconfident. This is a prepubescent kind of puberty story that's obviously not going to go too far into the biology of things, but it's all about the experiences that Leo, I guess, somewhat has. Wisdom. He has wisdom that he's going to share with the children. There are jokes in this movie as well, and I'll be honest, most of them I'm not a crazy fan of. There's a fish with a long strand of poo, and most of the lines don't really make me chuckle that much. But I'm willing to give this movie a heck of a lot more of a chance than how I felt 10 days ago. Because there's a lot of very interesting directions they can take. We do get a quick splash montage of the different time periods that Leo has just lived through, and that's interesting. Does Netflix own the rights to, say, Power Rangers? Is that a knockoff Lunchbox, or... Anyway, I like the references. God, I'm kind of falling into the trap, but it's nice, it's wholesome, it's fine, it's thematic, it makes sense, you can understand the context of the room thanks to it, and sure, it's a reference on the side, whatever, pop culture. But even if we don't delve into anything about the children of the past generations, at the very least, there are some very interesting creative liberties they've taken for present day. Like, there's one kid who just constantly has a drone with him, which is neat. It's nice to get a little bit of modern day extrapolations in there. And to be honest, this movie has a very easy route to fall into a very standard trap where you've clearly got this boomer-esque character, literally boomer, I think like 1947 is as early back as we see him, interacting with the modern Gen Z, maybe even Gen Alpha kids these days. It could very easily have been a Technology bad, kids. You're all stupid. Back in the old days, we had the smarts. That's why old man wise lizard dude is gonna tell you knowledge, because only he's smart in this world. You're all dumb as bricks. But I don't think that's where it's going. Not at all. Although I would love for there to be just a random political ramble coming out from a random caged lizard, but clearly it's going for a much more small-scale, just day-to-day case file of advice. It's just advice on how to live a little bit of life. One part even just calling out that these school days are the best years of their lives.
It's a tough time, but these are the best years, believe me.
I mean, he's wrong. It's university or it's the funeral, but you know, whatever. Even still, with an ensemble cast for the classroom, each dealing with their own dilemmas, there's a very easy way that this can just relate to all sorts of dynamics of kids and just tell some interesting, fun stories along the way. There's one that's clearly very beauty-focused, another that's a bit more sporty, and then hairy dad dude. It's nice. What's more, from the scattered clips we do see from the trailer, it does seem like they also go on a bit of a geography trip, so not only is the lizard helping out with the children's current conundrums of their growing bodies and their current insecurities, but also it seems like he's gonna get a whole new lease of life by being allowed to be set free slightly to see the world a little bit more. There's a gigantic book that says the essentials of geography, and so clearly they're all intimidated, but I just think it sounds like a very nice, vague journey kind of movie, but also it seems like just a lot of like friendly advice kind of movie. And I don't know when we've really had wisdom movies, you know? There's a lot of potential for this movie to just be really, really cozy to watch. Whilst also, it's clear that the animation is by no means going for basic and easy. There are the occasional creative flares going on in there. Did you see the, like, kindergarten kids? They look like that one Titan from Attack on Titan, all of them. It's bizarre, but, like, I feel like I could really get into it. I am not particularly attached to Netflix movies, especially when they're in just the marketing phase. You see them occasionally, I just tend to kind of ignore them. But this one kind of blew me out the water a little bit more. It seems like such a shock to see, and I don't know why that's so shocking to me, but it is. Adam Sandler seems to fit right into his elderly role, I guess, and I'm just very excited to see what potential directions they take this movie. It doesn't have to do 1,000,001 things. I think just from the concept alone and the intention behind it really just puts this movie ahead, and I hope it gets the attention it deserves if it does manage to nail exactly what it's going for. I'm sure there will be all sorts of little moments that I'm gonna eye roll at. I'm still not the biggest fan of their names. Also, their names don't make sense.
I hope everyone's met our class pets, Leonardo and Squirtle.
How are they called Leonardo and Squirtle when both of those characters were invented in the 90s and they were born in the 40s? Plot hole? This movie's ruined in my eyes now. Oh yeah, and then there's also this other major plot point of the movie that I just completely forgot to mention. This movie goes out of its way to break one of the classic rules of talking animal movies, because it ends up being that the lizard also talks to the humans as well. Which usually, you know, is a big no-no, it's a big trope breaker, but I don't think in this case it's necessarily a bad thing. It's not just a full-on Toy Story 1 Sid situation that technically writes characters into a corner if they don't massively overturn that kind of direction for the franchise. I think in this context, assuming that these kids never actually call out the lizard and have him sent away to government scientific experiments, it just seems like a nice opportunity to tell a story from a sort of outside perspective.
Godzilla!
What was that? You just spoke! Mom!
Even though clearly Leo is more so just meant to be an older generational human with wisdom in what he's actually going to end up saying to the children. Like, I don't know why he would otherwise have knowledge on the hair growth of normal prepubescent children. But to just be communicating directly will also open up for a lot of interesting potential little beats. If not just for some wholesome conversation with kids and funny antics to avoid talking to adults. Leo is based in that way. Although, even though he can speak English, which I guess technically he could learn all these things from the decades of lessons he's been observing in the classroom, it's funny that his accent ended up coming out more like Dr. Doofenshmirtz. Like, I can't really unhear it. It's a weird blend of Drac and Doof.
This is incredible!
Drakenschmerz. Never mind. And this movie's coming out soon. Coming out in November? God, it's kind of like just a shock surprise on us. And to be fair, I guess it doesn't need a crazy amount of marketing to it, but I hope it gets the attention. I really enjoy it. I'm sold already. It'll just depend on how they end up doing the execution of the whole thing. There's a nice bit about how he swallows a caterpillar and burps out a butterfly. That's creative and new. I'll be curious to see what else they could manage to whip out of that concept, because I don't see many other options. The rest is more just in the dialogue, I feel. I guess he does get attacked by a Roomba, so they must have plenty of ideas. Roomba. And so as the movie comes to a close, we'll come to learn about how a great teacher can come from anywhere and change everything for the lives of these children in just a nice, simple, wholesome way with a little bit of seasonal sprinklings on the side, judging by a single shot that I'm currently looking at in the trailer. Now just face Leo up against a platypus and wait for him to call it Perry, you know. But yeah, there you go. Here was a bit more of an off-the-cuff mini-episode from me. I just saw this trailer and was surprisingly impressed by it all. It doesn't have to do too much, I think. I'm happy enough with just if the messaging nails itself correctly. It seems like a heartwarming movie with some good intentions, and finally, a boomer telling kids some lessons that isn't just, get off your phone! I think it could be a very nice, positive spin of generational knowledge that I'm just so jaded that I haven't heard that myself in, it feels like decades. And since it's a movie, it can't get cancelled as a second season or anything. We'll just have to see how things turn out and if it gets any attention sometime in this November. Let me know your thoughts if you're at all noticing this movie now, or if you had any thoughts about the trailer, because that's all there is to go on, and I'm out of things to say, so I'll end it off here. My name's been Daz, you didn't really care, and I'll see you in a bit. Whew, that was weird. A whole improv video. Does it work? I'll get better at it, maybe.
Try doing this.